if you look at the architecture of the Grace Blackwell racks, it was completely focused on doing one thing, processing the LLM. All of a sudden, 1 year later, you're looking at a Vera Rubin rack. It has storage accelerators. It has this incredible new CPU called Vera. It has Vera Rubin and NVLink 72 to run the LLMs. It also has this new additional rack called Grok. And so this entire rack system is completely different than the previous one. And it's got all these new components in it. And the reason for that is because the last one was designed to run MOE large language models, inference, and this one is to run agents. And agents bang on tools. And
Obviously, the design of the system had to have been done before Claude Code, Codex, OpenClaw. So you were anticipating the future, essentially.
yeah.
And that comes from what? From the whispers, from the understanding what all the state of the art is doing?
No, it's easier than that. You just reason about it. First of all, you just reason. No matter what happens, at some point, in order for that large language model to be a digital worker, let's just use that metaphor. Let's say that we want the LLM to be a digital worker. What does it have to do? It has to access ground truth. That's our file system. It has to be able to do research. It doesn't know everything. We don't have, and I don't want to wait until this AI becomes, universally smart about everything, past, present, and future, before I make it useful. And so therefore, I might as well let it go do research. It's obviously, if it wants to help me, it's got to use my tools. A lot of people would say, AI is going to completely destroy software. We don't need software anymore. We don't even need tools anymore. That's ridiculous. Let's use a thought experiment. And you could just sit there, enjoy a glass of whiskey, and think about all these things, and it would become completely obvious. Like if I were to create the most amazing agent that we can imagine in the next 10 years, let's say be a humanoid robot. If that humanoid robot were to be created, is it more likely that the humanoid robot comes into my house and uses the tools that I have to do the work that it needs to do? Or does this hand turns into a 10-pound hammer in one instance, turns into a scalpel in another instance, and in order to boil water, it beams, microwaves out of its fingers, or is it more likely just to use a microwave, And the first time it goes up to the microwave, it probably doesn't know how to use it, but that's okay. It's connected to the internet. It reads the manual of this microwave, reads it, instantly becomes an expert, and so uses it. And so I think I just described, in fact, almost all of the properties of OpenClaw. That it's going to use tools, that it's going to access files, it's going to be able to do research. It has I/O subsystem, and when you're done reasoning about it through it in that way, then you say, "Oh my gosh, the impact to the future computing is deeply profound." And the reason for that is, I think we've just reinvented the computer. And then now you say, okay, when did we reason about that? When did we reason about OpenClaw? If you take the OpenClaw schematic that I used at GTC, you will find it 2 years ago. Literally 2 years ago at GTC, I was talking about agentic systems that exactly reflect OpenClaw today. And of course, the confluence of many things had to happen. First of all, we needed Claude and GPT and all of these models to reach a level of capability. So their innovation and their breakthroughs and their continued advances was really important. And then, of course, somebody had to create an open source project that was sufficiently robust, and sufficiently complete, and that we can all put to work. And I think OpenClaw did for agentic systems what ChatGPT did for generative systems, and I just think it's a very big deal.
Yeah, it's a really special moment. I'm not exactly sure why it captured so much of the world's attention, but it did, more than Claude Code and Codex and so on.
Because consumers could reach it.
Sure, yeah. But there's also so much of this is vibes, and And Peter, I had a podcast with him. He's a wonderful human being. So part of it is also the humans that represent the thing,
Yeah,
and
no doubt.
part of it is memes and because we're all trying to figure it out. There's really serious and complicated security concerns about when you have such powerful technology, how do you hand over your data so they can do useful stuff? But then there's scary things associated with that. And we as a civilization, as individual people and as a civilization, figuring out how to find that right balance.
Yeah, we jumped on it right away, and we sent a bunch of security experts his way,
Mm-hmm.
and we did this thing called OpenShell. It's already been integrated into OpenClaw.
And NVIDIA put forward NemoClaw.
Yeah, exactly.
The install is super easy. It makes sure that it's secure.
We give you 2 out of 3 rights. Agentic systems can access sensitive information, it can execute code, and it can communicate externally.
Mhm.
We could keep things safe if we gave you 2 out of those 3 capabilities at any time, but not all 3. And out of those 2 out of 3 capabilities, we also give you access control based on whatever rights that you're given by enterprise. And then we connect it to a policy engine that all these enterprises already have. And so we're going to try to do our best to help OpenClaw become a better claw.